Hey folks, Dana here, back in my incredibly messy workshop for part 2 of the snake stick. Been grinding out some meat from in the inside curve here, using the microplane file, and some of it I did with the rotary rasp held in my electric drill. It goes a little faster. Kind of want to get this area down a bit so it doesn't swell out quite so much. Kind of make the snake look like it just ate something, I suppose. But I've been peeling back some of this rotten wood here, and there actually seems to be some decent wood underneath. So I might not have to cut that off like I had thought I was going to have to do. So that's good, because fitting another piece of wood to that would have been really tricky. So I'm just going to keep paring away at it, and I'll be back. Now to speed the process along a little bit, taking an auger bit in the old bit and brace here, and I'm going to drill out some of that material in the corner here. That'll make it go a little bit faster. Yeah, see, it took out quite a bit of material there. I can just start smoothing it down. I think that's about where I'm going to go to. But yeah, it's still a little punky here, but it's not that bad. So we'll keep whittling away at it and see what she looks like. Well, ran into a little more punkiness right there, so I mixed up a little bit of that wood hardener with some sawdust into like a little putty almost, and packed it into the hole. But shape's coming along pretty good, and like I say, underneath that light colored, really punky wood, it turns kind of reddish to some fairly solid stuff, which is very good. I'm very happy with that. So, and you'll notice once in a while when I change positions in the vise here, because it's a natural stick, not square and flat cut lumber, can be a little tricky to find a position where it will hold solidly, and some of the angles, the end of the stick will poke up into the ceiling there, and the red squirrels have been up there, so it tends to rain a little bit of red squirrel poo every once in a while, that and empty walnut shells. So I'm going to let that dry up. I'm back a little later. That wood hardener stinks pretty bad, and probably not the best stuff in the world to be. Well, finally back out in the shop again. Had another little burst of hot and muggy weather. Still pretty muggy today actually, but at least it's a bit cooler. Been doing some shaping on it. Used mostly the 4-inch belt sander. It takes off quite a bit of material quickly. So ran into that hollow spot again, so I'm going to have to refill this end of it. I thought about just peeling that away, but I think it ended up being a little too flimsy. As it is, it's got quite a bit of flex to it, so I'm not sure if I would put this one up for sale or not, but probably not. But I also took a file, smoothed off some of the knots along the length of it, so once the polyurethane goes on it, it won't be little sharp spots. But it's coming. It'll get there eventually. And I think there's still some punky wood there, but I got down into some decent stuff here and there, and it's got pretty neat color to it actually. So, but we'll keep whittling away at it. Well, rather than fill that, I came up with an idea. I cut it out with my saw, and that's going to be the slightly opened mouth of the snake. That'll save trying to patch that. I'll just carve it in like that and carve the head out a little bit, and I think that'll work. I'll take the nose down a little bit. It looks more like a shark than a snake, but I suppose it could be an extremely long shark. But yeah, I think that'll work. So I'll just keep whittling away at it. Well, it's coming along. One thing you can see, since I'm really not a carver, is I have a little trouble with symmetry. I'll end up taking probably too much off that side, having to take a bit more off that side, and back and forth. But I don't know. I've tried, scribing lines on it. Well, not this one, but other carvings I've done, and try to make them symmetrical, but I'm just not a carver. But it's coming. It's looking pretty decent. Kind of that bad spot where that I've plugged with stuff is definitely going to show, but that's all right. Like I say, it's just a stylized snake cane. So, well, I wasn't entirely happy with that filled in spot. It was chipping out kind of bad, so I mixed up some 5-minute epoxy and added a bunch of fine sawdust from underneath the belt sander, and just made it into a paste and slathered it on. So I'm going to call that good for that for right now, and I'll be back at some point. Well, it's been a couple 3 days, and the putty I put in has dried up nice. Show you how damp and nasty it's been. Those couple 3 days, mold has been growing on the stick. Finally today it's cooled off and the humidity's going down. It's supposed to be even better tomorrow, and then Saturday we're supposed to get what's left of Hurricane Lee, so it's supposed to rain like crazy here. But anyways, we'll do a little more shaping on it and see how it goes. Well, that's smoothed up fairly nicely. It still smells a bit, so it's probably not 100% cured, but I'm gonna call it good for today, and maybe by tomorrow it'll have cured 100%. Still some punkiness in here, but I'm thinking when I apply the polyurethane finish, it'll first coat will act like a sanding sealer, and then I can smooth it down again, and by the time the second coat's on it, it'll look good. Guess that's it for right now. I'll come back to it tomorrow. I'll see you then. Well, it's been a couple days. We survived the storm. Took a little root off cut and made him a tongue. Hopefully that isn't going to stick out too far and snag on things, but it's easily replaced if it does. Got a little more shaping to do, but while that's drying, I'm going to sand down the shank itself This being maple, I usually leave the bark, but I sand it down to the underbark, the cambium layer, because the outer gray bark looks pretty ugly when you put polyurethane on it. But when you sand it down, it turns a really nice deep red color. So that'll be my next pot. Yeah, you can see that nice reddish color starting to come through, as opposed to the original gray color. So I'll finish that up and take another look at it. Well, I've got a first coat of polyurethane on it. You can see how that nice red color comes through. And there's some pretty nice grain up there in the twist. I didn't bother to put any eyes on this one because I did on my last one and they just didn't look right. So this will be a blind snake. But yeah, I'm pretty happy overall. Yeah, that's where I left off with the polyurethane, so you can see the difference in the color. But yeah, we'll let that dry up and see how she looks. Now, for my next project, I'm thinking of tackling this. Obviously a piece of yellow birch, and I think it might have a crook hiding in there somewhere. It's really heavy. It's a piece I cut like 3 years ago, so it should be nice and dry. Obviously that part's really too big for a handle, so I'm going to have to cut that down a ways. But I think I can get a nice crook in there. Maybe one with a turned nose or something along that line. It'll be similar to a piece I'd done before, which I'll try to pop a picture of. But it's a little on the largest side, almost 2 inches right there, a little over 2 inches there. So I probably should have cut this one earlier, but it's got a nice straight shank to it though. So, and I did one cane out of a different piece of this log a while ago, and it had some really nice coloring in the heartwood. Can't really see it there, but I'll try to pop a picture of that one in too. But I think that'll be my next project.